Hey guys, Slimber here, and this is my new series where I record creepypastas. It's in the dark. Well, hold on, I'm trying to set up the fucking flashlight. Um, alright. You guys might be wondering, why am I wearing a belt, a whatever the fuck this is, and an ID? Well, everybody knows ghosts can't get you. Wondering, fuck this shit. Alright. So as you know, I'm gonna record some retarded creepypasta. This one, I was haunted by the Muppets. By one of the Muppets as a child. So before I start this, I'm gonna do retarded voices. This is my first creepypasta of many I'm gonna read. Eventually I will make my own, and as I go with the stories, I will use the stories we read. So here we go. I've had this story for a while, but no one to tell it to. I'm glad I found this subreddit a few days ago. This isn't going to be a horror story, or one that will need updates, because all of this ended about 5 years ago. Hold on. By the way, you guys notice how I read this like the fucking creepypasta people do? Oh my god. My phone is charged, or whatever. This isn't going to be a horror story or one that will need updates, because all this ended about 5 years ago. It's more of a recollection of stuff that happened to me as a kid. The story starts when I was young. I'm still in a crib to indicate how young I am. This is when I was first able to memorize things, and where a lot my what the fuck, this guy's grammar. Where a lot my first memories come from. Where a lot of my first memories come from. So I'm going to assume I was 3 years old. To help your mind's eye, my bedroom is on the 2nd floor, walking up about 5 steps from the 1st floor hallway. On the left, from the stairs, is my bedroom. On the right is my dad's changing room. My crib is against the wall, so that's when my parents enter the room. They only have to take 2 steps into my room to be leaning over the head of my crib. My dad's changing room is entirely light oak. All of the furniture and floors, but that's not relevant until later. Like any 3-year-old, my parents tried to entertain me with cartoony figures, but we didn't have Yo Gabba Gabba or anything modern like that as a kid. We had the Muppets. I still really like the Muppets, and I'm sure a lot of people do too, but the issues following this point were less than fun. My first nightmare, or more correctly, the first nightmare I can remember, featured a member of the Muppets. Now, I should say right now, the subject of this story is not Muppets, not plural. This story revolves around a single Muppet. This guy, my first nightmare was about Gonzo. He was standing over my crib, staring at me. I could see his silhouette. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I might be retarded. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Silhouette. In the moonlight, through the window. He was wearing a red robe, like one you would wear as you sat by the fire and said, "Indeed, old chap." What the fuck? The creepy part about my dream was not the Muppet staring at the baby with murderous intensity. What the fuck? But that the ceiling of my room, the crib around me, and the crib all looked the same as they did in reality. I'm calling this a nightmare for the sake of my sanity. Oh no. Just before the nightmare ended, his eyes widened, his mouth open. I heard a groaning exhale as he brought his hands closer to me, like he was gonna pick me up. Pedophile Gonzo. But you know, stupid baby me, I'm so used to my mom leaning down to pick me up that I giggle, and I raise my hands up too. Next thing I know, it's past dawn and I'm awake. About 5 minutes later, my mom comes into my room and picks me up. Next up, I'm 5 years old. My bed is now in the back corner, but still in the front of the floor. My headboard is against the parallel wall and to the door. Okay, I think I might be retarded. I can't pronounce shit a lot right now. This was the dream that is the reason I still sleep with my door open at night. What a fucking pansy. Everything was dark, creepy, and a radiant energy of foreboding filled the air in my room. I pulled the cover over my head, which didn't seem to help that much. You know that sensation you get when you're being watched, or that premonition of something bad about to happen? Mortified was an understatement. Made even worse by the fact at this point I was entirely unaware I was dreaming. There we go. I skipped a lot thing. I don't know if a lot of you know, but I'm legally blind, so I might not see a lot of this shit. I have a flashlight, that's why you guys can see my face. Where are we at? Once again, all my room looked as it did in reality. Same sheets, same pajamas, same toys in the corner of my room. The most notable difference was everything felt hyper-realistic, like a very smooth stop-motion animation. I picked my head out from under the covers. The door slowly creaked open. I'm now too terrified to even move. Thoughts raced through my head. If I moved now, I would be seen. Best to just play possum, or that I was paralyzed from fear. Because the head that pushed its way into the door crack was not my mom or dad that had just given me a slight spook in the night when they came up to check on me. My parents didn't have a nose like that. Alright guys, you're about to hear the worst Gonzo impression in history. Hello? I can't do it. No, I can't do it. It's like higher than that though. Hello? I can't do that. I can't do Gonzo. But that's the thing. The dream ends there. I scream as loud as I can, and my body fills up with those danger hormones you get after waking up. You know the kind where you squeeze your eyes shut? It feels like you're suddenly in a lot of pain or dead. And then you wake up in a cold sweat with a pounding heart, too scared to even swallow because of how loud it might be to anything still lurking in your room. I stayed frozen like that for what felt like hours. Eventually, I got up to the nerve to shout for my mom to come and get me, because I was too scared to make my own way to their bedroom. When I was 7, I came down with terrible chicken pox. There was a brief confusion one day when I woke up with a strange stuffed animal in my bed. Holy shit. My uncle, who was visiting when he heard how ill I was, believed the stuffed animal was one of my mom bought. Oh, it's just Muppet, whatever. Same fucking thing. My dad had never seen it before. My mother insisted my uncle had brought it with him, since he had kids my age as well. Yes, it was what you are thinking. It's not really an interesting anecdote, but the more I thought about it, the more unsettling it became. The only 3 adults who were around at the time, neither knew where it came from. Well, no shit. It's a fucking Gonzo demonic doll. Sorry, I didn't interrupt that. Just to say that. Sorry, people that are new to the channel and wanted to hear a random creepypasta, I don't know, about the Muppets. Alright, we're continuing this. The only reason I don't believe my mother when she said that my uncle had brought it with him was that he expressed genuine curiosity about how it got there when he went to check on me with Dad after another nightmare I can't remember. My uncle is a prankster. So is mine! Well, he's not really biological. I don't know if this guy is biological, but still, mine is. So I can see my mom believing he brought it, but he would never lie or fake his feelings over something. So far, we've gotten over 2 childhood nightmares and 1 confusing stuffed animal. Is this too spooky for you yet? Relax, it gets much worse. Specifically, when we moved out of the house and into a condo when I was 11 years old. Well, it says 11, but who gives a fuck? Because I don't. To be brief, the nightmare subsided after my bad case of the chicken pox went away. Now, I'm not saying I didn't get nightmares after that. I mean, I didn't have any super visit or Gonzo-related nightmares until I was about 11. From ages 11 to 15, the nightmares returned like it was the Jedi in Star Wars Episode 6. Guaranteed, once per week. And you know how in the dark, if you close your eyes and relax, you can see images on the inside of your eyelids. Let's see if I can see Gonzo. You guys should do this too. Guys, turn your lights off. Holy shit, I saw him now. I didn't. It was also a silhouette of Gonzo laughing. Even if the dream wasn't related to Gonzo, I'd wake up in a cold sweat and say, "Oh boy, that was a terrifying dream. I wonder what?" And then I'd see his laughing silhouette, and my mind would curse in a low, angry voice. Gonzo! Cue lightning strike out of the window for a dramatic effect. I'm 13 now, a year younger than I am right now, and this is when things are to become very spooky. My mother is going shopping. I'm still not old enough to be left on my own yet, or so she says. Overprotective has always been her thing. So I go with her. We're going to the city's main mall, which is pretty big, honestly. We're touring around. She's always looking for pants, shoes, plates, and new cameras, yada yada. But then as we're walking, we find this strange part of the mall. Everyone knows that feeling when you know a large place so well you can navigate it no problem. Turn left here, right here, keep going straight. It's on your left. Anyone good with directions knows what it's like to know the ins and outs of anything like that. But then you venture too far in one direction and find out there's an entire hall you knew nothing about the whole time. It feels so real. We found that extra hall at the very back of the mall where I thought it was just dead-ended. There was an entire section to the left that went out a good 40 feet. There were 4 stores in this section. The 2 on the left seemed like generic clothing stores, but had large close signs across the entrances. Same for the one on the far right. The only one open was the Muppet Memorial Bully. I don't know how to fucking pronounce that. I think I might be retarded, like I said, and I already see where this is going. You guys probably already do. Store on the immediate right. I'm feeling uneasy in the pit of my stomach, but my mom is very cynical. I haven't told her yet about Gonzo, nor would she believe me if I told her now. She told me to stop acting weird as she pulled me by the hands toward the Muppet store. She wanted to take a look inside. Well, we both like Muppets. My experiences in the past hadn't changed that. So, despite on edge I felt, I walked in the store with her. It was bright, well lit, and the floors were light oak colors. Most of them memorable plates, keychains, books, and really anything you could think of featured Kermit. So that was nice. She picked up a few different items, gave them an appraising stare, and placed them back. The only thing in the whole store that caught her eye was the plush section. The Muppets were lined up in a bin. There were a bunch of Kermits, Miss Piggies, animals, even a Beaker and Bunsen. And yes, there was a single Gonzo. I'd like to clarify, the Gonzo plush from when I had the chicken pox was very small, like a Beanie Baby. It could fit in one hand. These stuffed animals were bigger. You needed 2 hands to hold these. Hold on. I try to politely tell her no, but my mom isn't having it. She buys Gonzos and a Kermit to try and compromise. Oh my god, I can't read for shit right now. The Kermit doesn't have anything to do with the story. It's just a stuffed Muppet that I still have, and I actually like it. Oh, so is that like a big fuck you to Kermit? It's been a few weeks since we bought Gonzo now. Nothing out of the ordinary. Mom is getting used to me heckling the Gonzo doll every time I see it. She's on the couch, putting her printed photos in one of those Loblaws Photo Lab pouches. She printed out all of her good pictures. She had two pouches, which she placed one on top of the other on the counter by the kitchen. Then she turned to me and gave me a speech about how she has to go on an errand and just letting me stay home for the first time since I'm now a teenager, blah blah blah. I nod my head and say what she wants to hear. She's gone. I'm home alone. What does a teenager do when he's home alone? Look up porn. Yes, that's exactly what happens. Oh my god. The only story that knows. The only story I've ever read that knows. So that's what I did for about 10 minutes until I heard a large slapping noise. Oh, coming from the living room. Oh. I think Gonzo was also watching porn with you too, buddy. I turned off my monitor just in case anyone saw what I was looking at, hint if it was porn, and walking into the living room. Sure enough, the photo pouches Mom had precariously stacked on one another had toppled over. Oh, Gonzo's got something for your mom. They were now both on the floor, with the pictures thrown... Okay, this guy can't spell. Thrown everywhere. Being a good son, I decided to gather the pictures and place them back into the envelopes. I didn't really care if they weren't in the right order. I just explained it to Mom when she'd get home. All of the pictures were in general vicinity of where the pouches fell. Some were under the couch, some were by the dog's water dish, one was all the way inside the kitchen. I looked at very pictures I picked just out of curiosity, really wishing I hadn't looked at the one in the kitchen. Really wishing I hadn't. The pictures were all from a vacation, I can't remember, but there were a lot of nature shots, lots of trees and skies, so green and blue was a very predominant color in a lot of these. The one in the kitchen was red. As I said before, we moved out of the house when I was 11, and I was 13 when this happened, so let me try to describe this. The picture was of the house we used to live in. The changing room I mentioned at the very beginning, the one with pale light oak floors and furniture, except the furniture was arranged slightly different. The way it was organized before, the tall dresser was at the back of the room, centered, and the full-length mirror was on the left of it. There were two fancy chairs my parents like to call king and queen chairs on the left side. There was also a long credenza on the right. In this picture, the queen chair and where the dresser was. The mirror was on the left of the chair now, and the dresser was on the chair's right. The credenza was there, still there. There was no king chair. Gonzo was sitting on the chair. Holy shit. Not just Nightmare Gonzo. The exact Gonzo Mom had bought from the Muppet Memorabilia store. Mouth wide open, legs and arms limp, eyes fixated forward like it was staring at me. It was propped up against the back of the chair. Everything was red. The entire floor space, hold on. From the legs of the chair Gonzo sat on to the end of the picture was just covered in gore. Bodies and corpses. They didn't even look like they had faces. Everything was bloody. The dresser had a red streak of blood across it. The credenza was speckled with it, and one corner was completely bloody. Everything had blood on it except Gonzo. Oh, Gonzo didn't do anything then. He's innocent! What the fuck is this on my finger? The blister. Ow. I freaked out. Clearly, this was not a vacation picture. I lost my shit completely, and I called my mom and told her to come home as soon as possible. She told me she would be home when she finished her errand. I generally placed the photo. I just want to move a little bit farther. I'm gonna lay down. No, I cannot lay down. Yeah, fuck you. I'm gonna lay down, thing. I don't like this position at all for the camera. As soon as possible. She told me she would be home when she finished her errand. I gingerly placed... Gingerly is a word. Placed the photo on the table and got a terribly haunting feeling. I can't read your shit. I'm kind of tired. So the next one I'll record in the morning. terribly haunting feeling that the more I stared at it, the more it would hurt to look at. The pressure inside me boiled, and I couldn't take it anymore. I started screaming as I looked as loud as I could, and I didn't stop. While running up the stairs, I didn't stop. When I lunged for the Gonzo doll, I didn't stop. And while I beat the stuffed animal, tearing its nose and face off, ripping its limbs apart, I still didn't stop. Holy shit, his mom's gonna fucking send him to a mental hospital. Mom came home. I was still hyperventilating. The picture was gone. So, I got in a lot of trouble for wasting her time and also destroying one of her stuffed animals. I decided to try and take matters into my own hands like a sleuth. It definitely doesn't say sloth. I wouldn't think that would make sense. I don't know what a sleuth is. Or as much as I could. Next day, when I was dropped off for school, I didn't go in. I took my lunch money and used it for bus fare to get into the mall we bought Gonzo from. Wouldn't you know, I couldn't find that store again. I must have looked for a good hour, but all I could find were dead ends. There was no mention of a Muppet store on the map either. I eventually got up the nerve to ask the information desk. I asked the woman at the front if they had seen any information on the Muppet store. Alright, here's my female voice. What Muppet store? What the fuck? I got a little more heated than I needed, honestly. After about 20 minutes of arguing and security had to be called, I got the message that they didn't know anything about a Muppet store, which is weird. They're probably gonna send you to a fucking mental hospital. I was able to pick money out of the wish fountain for bus fare home. Sue me. And I just sat on my bed for the rest of the day and wondered why life had to be like this. The last dream happened when I was 15. It started out as a nightmare, but then it sort of disappeared. Like something said, okay, that's enough. Cut, and the creeping darkness around me dropped away. I was in a green room. It looked like a factory. They had conveyor belts and shelves and little kiosks. It looked like a Toy Story in a way, and across all the shelves, conveyor belts and kiosks were miniature Gonzos. Not just any Gonzos, you know how troll dolls look? Well, imagine that pose except for the Gonzo doll. Wide open mouth, yellow shirt with brown dots, belt, pants, and shoes. It looks like these things were being manufactured and sold. The actual Gonzo was there, standing there in a red robe like he had been wearing in the first nightmare. His mouth was closed, something I had never seen before in a dream. His brow looked like he was confused. He was squinting or at least uncomfortable. We had a conversation. There was no screaming, no trying to kill me, no horror. We were standing in this bright green room, floating in an infinite white space, having a casual discussion. The general gist of the dream was he was saying he was done with me and how he had more valuable customers to worry about. Customers? The fuck? Did you pay this dude? I couldn't help but feel like an old rival was surrendering. He dismissed me by pointing to the door. I grabbed one of the mini Gonzos on the way out, and he just shook his head and smiled. When I walked into the whiteness, I woke up. What seemed like something that happened in 2 hours had taken 11 hours in the real world. First thing I did was ask my mom about the Gonzo doll she had that I destroyed. I'm not sure what I wanted her answer to be, but she said no. There was no Gonzo anymore. There was no Muppet store, and there was no more nightmares. Only me and my memories. Obviously, Gonzo dolls like that still exist in the world, or I wouldn't be able to find a picture of it on the internet. But after I tore apart the old one we had, Mom had thrown it out, and the only thing left of us ever having owned one was our memories. That's all there is to it. I'm now 20 years old, and I haven't had a single nightmare at all since that incident. I can't say it hasn't left me a little scarred. I'm just glad it's over, but I can't help but wonder what he meant by more valuable customers. Well, what he had meant, my friend, and this is the end of it, Gonzo is a prostitute, right? But he was trying to suck your dick. He was like, ow, I can't do it. I'll suck your dick for money. I can't do it. Can't do a Gonzo voice. I'll suck Attack from Molly. I can't do it. That's Miss Piggy. That is Miss Piggy. Oh fuck! I can't do it. I can't do a Gonzo voice. Anyways, Slimmer out.